If you're looking for a bullish, hopium-filled video, this one is not it. So you can leave the video right now. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. That would mean a lot to me. But it's going to be a prepare for the worst, a doomsday scenario type of video, because and even in the headline, I don't know what I'm going to say. Maybe just prepare for the worst. But it's become clear to me that I can't do bullish macro themes for a video, and in that video talk about why in the short to midterm downside is in play, because people don't really watch the actual videos. A lot of people don't watch the actual videos. So I actually wanted to do a video solely, and I do this sometimes, solely on downside. Let's just talk about downside. Let's look at it, because it is always in play. It's so in play right now. And even in a video the other day, I discussed a macro bullish indicator. In that video, we discussed downside. And I think it's valuable to do this exercise anyway, often. So here's the exercise in today's video. And the thing that kind of inspired me is I tweeted this yesterday. I said, here's Bitcoin and Cardano in the last 7 days. Talk about indecisive. And it's just sideways on the daily. And I just got this tweet, this reply. Somebody said 2 days ago, kind of being like, hey, 2 days ago, you're doing macro bullish signal on Bitcoin. So 2 days ago, you're bullish, Dan. But the thing is, in that video, based on this realized price indicator, we were talking about how Bitcoin on the macro, this is an incredibly bullish indicator. But on the short term, this indicator actually alludes to potential downside. And in that video, I spent a good amount of time talking about that. But based on this comment, again, people only look at the headlines. They only look at the thumbnails and the titles. And so I figured, you know what, let's talk about, and this is really coming from my perspective too, and just the way that I think on a daily basis, let's just talk about the worst case scenario. The other thing that inspired me to do this was I was just having a call with a business partner of mine, a friend of mine. We're on a Zoom call just talking, and we just started talking about price. I brought up the Bitcoin charts. We're talking about Bitcoin. And I was just like, dude, it's not looking like, because he was like, are we on track for just the continuation to that next cycle? How are we looking? And I'm like, we are right on track. We are right on track. And, you know, this chart I charted back in 2018, and you can see we're right on track in terms of what we were watching for Bitcoin cycles. But it is the fact that to get here, whatever that next all-time high is, this is a multi-year thing. And along the way, when we start zooming into these charts, this is a Bitcoin daily chart. That is incredibly minuscule when we look at this chart. And right now, with the state of things in the world and in the economy and everything that's going on right now, just it's so in play. Even from a technical analysis perspective, we have this most recent symmetrical triangle. Bitcoin's at the lower trend line. There's a target down to $23,000 some dollars, right? For the pretty short term. That's in play right now. But we go back to this chart, and I was basically saying, you know, Bitcoin can continue consolidating, because when we compare where Bitcoin is in the cycles, it's very similar to where we were back here in 2019. I know we say that a lot, but then we even bring in indicators like this. This is that move in 2019 on this realized price chart, a bullish indicator happening then, but Bitcoin fell in price. Bullish indicator about to happen here on the Bitcoin long-term holder realized price indicator. We could fall, right? It's a macro bullish indicator. And this is why I'm so optimistic when I talk about Bitcoin charts, because I'm always bullish on the macro. And I really am. I'm always bullish. It's not because I'm trying to, you know, just latch on to some type of false hope. It's really because the data is saying, hey, on the macro, things are looking good. But let's prepare for the worst. And the theme of this video, it really is. If you've been watching my channel, and if you really know the context behind how I approach these markets, you know I'm bullish on Bitcoin. You know where I think it's going. This chart that I charted back in 2018, this is what I think, right? And this could not happen. This could be wrong. Bitcoin could go to zero. There's risk involved here, but I'm bullish. But at the end of the day, prepare for the worst. And what does that look like on this chart? I mean, at the very least, we could just take what has happened in previous cycles, even revolving around these macro bullish indicators. Back here, Bitcoin fell, right? And we maybe don't want to use this fall, right? That was COVID. But you can just see Bitcoin retraced all the way back down to the moving averages and kind of consolidated. And that's what's in play right now to the downside, right? The 50-week moving average is all the way down here around $22,000. And then we start getting a sense of, all right, it's been consolidating. You can even see Bitcoin has hit the target out of this rising channel, hit the target very nicely most recently, right here, right around 26,000. We're bouncing. We have new consolidation, which is, I think, nicely tracked on the daily right now. New target to the downside around 23,000 after we get this breakout. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. We continue to watch and monitor what happens at this lower trend line, but prepare for the worst. And what does the worst look like on the short term? And then we'll look at the longer term. The worst in the short term is it hits that target, another 12, 13% downside for Bitcoin. It's in play. I'm macro bullish, but I'm 100% always aware of these downside targets. And even in my bullish videos, I talk about these things. I wanted to highlight and focus on the fact that this is 100% in play. Prepare for the worst. And this is what I do. This is why I do technical analysis, is so that I can visualize what this might look like and I can prepare mentally. That's what it is. It's a mental game. And if that fall happened for Bitcoin, right, you can see a very similar type of fall happening back here in February to swing low. That was around a 22% fall. This swing high to this potential swing low, we're looking at around a 23% fall. That's all in play, right? We go to the weekly chart, and let's go to kind of a different view of the weekly without all of the charting. And you can just see, in terms of Bitcoin and exiting this bear market, and we'll continue to monitor this depending on what Bitcoin does next in the short term. Yes, we have the 50-week moving average in blue, around $22,000 right there. But ultimately, we're looking at that ultimate swing low in November to the swing high that Bitcoin has put in. It's really just this higher low story. And the higher low story is the story of Bitcoin on any chart. You zoom out on any chart, higher highs, higher lows. It is what it is. We'd be looking for the similar continuation of that story. And it always is coming back to these Fibonacci's for me. This higher low Fibonacci, just to give you a sense, if we're preparing for the worst, that's around 18,700 at the 786 of that Fibonacci. Now the 618 at the top end of that is around 21,440. Interestingly enough, just right below the 50-week moving average. That could be an area where Bitcoin retraces to, that 50-week moving average. Again, from where we are right now, we'd be looking at a dip of around 18% to 20% for Bitcoin to revisit that area. So the question is, are you prepared for that scenario? Are we prepared? And I think it's very wise just to be prepared for those things. You can just see back here, Bitcoin did a very similar thing. Again, now that we have a more clear chart, Bitcoin just exiting the bear market and coming right back down to that area, the 50-week moving average. That would be in this general vicinity down here, Bitcoin continuing to that area. Back then, you could just see price range-wise, it was a swing high to that swing low of 53%. For Bitcoin these days, it would be a swing high to swing low, around 30+% to the downside, and we'd be monitoring that support. So I just wanted to put this out there because I realize that I'm extremely optimistic. I'm an optimistic person. I'm very bullish on crypto, especially, just the fact, everybody, that we've made it through this. And I really think that's the worst of it. I think, even compared to cycles in general, it's a typical bear market. But the fact that I think, as we know this data, the year before the recession is usually when markets are the worst. I think this was the worst of it. We have on-chain metrics over here at Truflation. Look at just inflation data coming down, continuing to come down, almost below 3%. I wonder when that is going to happen on this on-chain metrics type of style CPI data, right? Last we had April coming in at 4.9. Truflation right now sitting at around 3.15. It's been a very good leading indicator for inflation coming down. How are these things going to play into the charts in the coming months? This could be very bullish after Bitcoin retraces in one way or another, if that happens. But again, in the short term, I will continue to monitor short term, right? We just, right now, even the sideways consolidation on this daily chart is crazy, and we're below this trend line. Bitcoin might get an explosive move back into the apex of that triangle, in which case we'll track, we'll watch. But I do think it's wise to always be prepared for worse. These are what those worst case scenarios look like for me. It's what's on my mind. I didn't want to do a bearish video. I still don't even think this is a bearish video, but it's definitely not any type of hopium-filled video. But I wanted to put that out there without any bullish context, really, even in the thumbnail or the title, and just have a conversation about where markets are, what's in store, and pain potentially ahead. S&P 500, who knows what's going to happen over here in the stock market? Is this really just going to continue? Is there retracement in play here? I mean, look at this last 2018 capitulation fall. It's like, are we in store for something like that, or did it already happen? Things like this, we don't know the exact answers to, but we need to monitor them, right? We need to monitor if there's going to be a higher low for the S&P over here, and how that might affect Bitcoin. So we'll continue tracking all of those things, but I wanted to throw that out there in today's video, just discussing worst case scenarios, preparing for the worst, and being ready. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you all in the next video. God bless.